You have been working against yourself, not because you lack desire, not because the universe is withholding, not because you haven't visualized long enough, or meditated hard enough, or repeated the right words in the right sequence at the right hour of the morning. You have been working against yourself because you refuse to believe the simplest thing there is to believe. That's it. That is the whole secret. That is the law in its entirety. Everything else, every technique, every method, every elaborate ritual you've constructed around your wanting is just noise. Beautiful noise, perhaps, but noise. Not will be done. Not can be done if you do everything right. Done. Right now. In this moment. In the invisible, which is the only place anything real ever lives before it appears in the world you can touch. The visible world is just the echo. The assumption is the voice. You've been so consumed by the echo that you've forgotten you are the one speaking. They say, I believe it, but I also need a plan. I believe it, but what if it doesn't work? I believe it, but I should probably do more. That word but is a confession. It confesses that you do not actually believe it. You believe in the possibility of it. You believe in the hope of it. You're negotiating with reality instead of dictating to it. Stop negotiating. The merchant does not negotiate with his ledger. He records the sale. He moves on. The transaction is complete in his mind before the money ever changes hands, and because it is complete in his mind, the world has no choice but to catch up. This is not arrogance. This is not delusion. This is the oldest law in existence. Consciousness is the only reality. Everything in your outer world is simply your inner world made visible. When you change the inner assumption, not the wish, not the prayer, not the vision board, when you change the state you live in, the outer world reshapes itself around you like water, finding the shape of whatever vessel it's poured into. You are the vessel. Change your shape. You've been taught to be suspicious of simplicity. You've been trained to believe that hard things require hard work, that worthy things require suffering, that the universe respects effort. And so when someone tells you that the answer is simply to assume it is already so, you call it naive. You call it magical thinking. You add steps. You make it complicated. You turn a door into a labyrinth. But the door was never locked. You were standing in front of it, building a machine to open it, when all along it swings open with the lightest touch, the touch of lived assumption. Not forced, not strained, lived. The difference between wishing and assuming is this. Wishing stands outside the desire and reaches toward it. Assuming stands inside the desire and looks out from it. Wishing says, I want that house. Assuming says, I'm deciding which room will be the library. Feel the difference in your body. One is hunger. The other is satisfaction. Satisfy yourself now, right now, before the evidence, before the sign, before the confirmation. That is the law. Reality is not the authority. You are. The world you see around you, your finances, your relationships, your body, your circumstances, none of it is a verdict on who you are or what is possible for you. It is simply a recording, a playback, a photograph of a state you once occupied. You've moved on. Let the photograph catch up. When you look at your current conditions and feel defeated by them, you are making an error so fundamental that it colors everything. You are mistaking the record of the past for the report of the future. Look at your conditions the way an architect looks at an empty lot, not as a limitation, but as a canvas. And then, this is essential, do not keep looking at the lot. The architect does not stand on the empty lot in despair. He goes inside. He draws the plans. He walks through the finished building in his mind so completely, so naturally, so matter-of-factly, that the built thing is real to him long before a single brick is laid. And so he moves through the world differently. He speaks differently. He makes decisions differently. And the world, which always mirrors our deepest assumptions, begins to rearrange itself around the building that already exists in him. Be the architect. Choose the thing you want. You already know what it is. You don't need to search for it. You've been carrying it with you for years. Now ask yourself, what would it feel like if this were already true? Not, what would it feel like when it happens? That is still placing it in the future, still keeping it at arm's length. What would it feel like right now, in this body, On this ordinary Tuesday, if this were already so, find that feeling. It might be relief. It might be quiet confidence. It might be a deep exhale. It might be joy so settled that it no longer needs to announce itself. Find that feeling and live there. Not for an hour. Not during your morning practice. Live there. Make it your default. Make it the water you swim in. When a contrary thought arises and it will, you don't fight it. You don't suppress it. You simply return. The way a sailor returns to his bearing. Without drama, without self-punishment. You return to the state of the wish fulfilled. That is the whole practice. That is the complete instruction. Because there is a part of you that is afraid not that this won't work, but that it will. If it works, if assumption really is this powerful, then you have no more excuses. You cannot blame circumstance. You cannot blame timing. You cannot point to the outside world and say, that is why my life looks the way it does. If consciousness is cause, then you are responsible. Fully, completely, gloriously responsible. That is terrifying to the part of you that has found comfort in helplessness. The role of the victim is safe. No one expects much from a victim. The victim has a story that explains everything. But you were never a victim. You were an author who forgot he was writing. Remember, pick up the pen. Write the next chapter from the end, from the already done, from the already so. Assume it, feel it as real. Persist in that feeling. Live from the end. The outer world will reflect it back, not because you forced it, not because you earned it, not because you worked hard enough or wanted it badly enough, but because that is simply what the outer world does. It reflects. You are the light. It is the mirror. Stop making this complicated. Assume it's done. That's it. That is the law. Most people treat assumption as a warm-up, a mental rehearsal before the real thing begins. They assume, then they wait. They visualize, then they watch the door. They plant the seed and then stand over the soil every single morning, digging it up to check whether something is growing yet. That is not assumption. That is anxiety with a spiritual vocabulary. Assumption is not what you do before the work. Assumption is the work, the complete work, the finished work. The moment the assumption is made, genuinely made, lived in, inhabited, the work on the invisible plane is done. What follows in the outer world is not the result of more doing. It is simply the physical world catching up to what is already established in consciousness. The lag between assumption and manifestation is not a test of your patience. It is just the speed of matter. Consciousness moves instantly. Matter moves slowly. That is the only gap there is. Understand this deeply because it changes everything about how you operate. If assumption is the act itself, then the moment you truly assume, you are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are watching something arrive. Those are two completely different inner postures. Waiting is hollow. It has anxiety in it, doubt in it, the constant monitoring of conditions in it. Watching something arrive is settled. It is the posture of someone who already knows. The person who mailed a letter does not pace the floor wondering if the postal system exists. They know the letter is traveling. They go about their life. The knowing is quiet and total. That quiet totality is what most people never reach because they confuse intensity with assumption. They believe that if they want something badly enough, if they feel it strongly enough in a single peak moment, the universe will respond to that peak. And so they chase peaks. They manufacture emotional highs during meditation. They push and strain and force the feeling. Then the session ends. They open their eyes, and the old state rushes back in like water filling a hole. Nothing has changed because nothing was ever truly assumed. A peak is not an assumption. A peak is an event. Assumption is a climate. Think about what it means to truly know something, not hope it, not believe it might be true. Know it. When you know your own name, you do not feel a surge of emotion about it. You do not remind yourself of it repeatedly throughout the day to keep the belief alive. It simply underlies everything. It is the ground you walk on without noticing the ground. That is the quality of a true assumption. It is not loud. It is not effortful. It is so thoroughly accepted as real that it no longer requires maintenance. This is precisely why the instruction is so difficult for minds trained in effort. You have been taught that results are proportional to struggle. that the universe measures your worthiness by the sweat you produce, that things of value must be hard won. And so when the instruction comes, simply assume it is done. The mind rebels. It says that cannot be all there is. There must be more steps. There must be conditions to meet. There must be a method layered on top of the method. The mind reaches for complexity because simplicity feels like laziness, and laziness feels like failure, and failure is what you are trying to escape. But the law does not measure effort. The law measures state. The law responds to what you are being, not what you are doing. You can exhaust yourself with action and remain in a state of lack, and the world will faithfully reflect lack back to you regardless of how hard you worked. And you can sit still in a state of completeness, and the world will reorganize itself around that completeness in ways that will seem to the observing mind like coincidence, like luck, like things falling into place. They are not falling into place. They are being drawn into place by the gravity of your assumption. The reason assumption is the act is because consciousness is the only substance. Everything visible is made of the invisible first. Every building existed as an idea before it existed as steel and glass. Every relationship existed as a felt sense of connection before it existed as two people in a room. Every condition in your life, welcome or unwelcome, existed first as an accepted belief about what is real and what is possible for you. You did not attract those conditions. You constructed them the way a dreamer constructs a dream, from the inside out, without knowing you were doing it, because the assumptions were unconscious. The practice of deliberate assumption is nothing more than making that process conscious. Instead of allowing old, inherited, unexamined beliefs to construct your experience by default, you choose the assumption. You decide what is real. You occupy that reality in your inner world with the same matter-of-fact certainty that you occupy your own living room. And because consciousness is cause, because the inner is always, without exception, the cause of the outer world begins to conform. There is a moment that happens when assumption is real that is unmistakable. The desire loses its desperation. The wanting softens into something closer to recognition. You stop checking for signs because you no longer need signs. Signs are for the uncertain. You are not uncertain. You have assumed. The thing is done in the only place it ever needed to be done, first in you. In the depths of you, where no outer condition can reach, where no bank statement or doctor's report or other person's opinion has any authority whatsoever. That interior place is where all creation begins and ends. Not in the actions you take, though actions will come naturally from the state. Not in the words you speak, though your speech will shift when your state shifts. Not in the vision board or the journal or the ritual, though none of those things are wrong in themselves. Creation begins and ends in the assumption, in the quiet, settled, unshakable knowing that what you have chosen is already so. Look around you right now. Look at your bank account, your relationships, your living situation, your body, your daily circumstances. Look at all of it clearly, without flinching. Now understand this with every part of your intelligence. None of it is telling you the truth about what is possible. None of it is a measurement of your worth. None of it is a ceiling. None of it is a sentence being handed down by some cosmic court that has reviewed your case and rendered its judgment. What you are looking at is a photograph, and photographs do not determine the future. They record the past. This distinction is not semantic. It is the difference between a life lived in reaction and a life lived in creation. When you look at your current conditions and feel defined by them, you have made a fundamental error in perception. You have confused the effect for the cause. You have walked into a room, seen your own reflection in a mirror, and concluded that the mirror is the original. The mirror is never the original. You are the original. The conditions are the mirror, and mirrors do not lead, they follow. Every circumstance you are living inside right now was created by a former version of you. Not the you of 5 minutes ago, but the you of weeks and months and years ago, the you that held certain assumptions so consistently, so unconsciously, so deeply embedded in the background of daily thought, that the world had no choice but to build itself around those assumptions. That version of you did not know what they were doing. They were operating from inherited beliefs, from fear absorbed in childhood, from limitations accepted without examination, from the general consensus of people around them about what is realistic and what is not. And the world, being an obedient mirror, reflected all of it back perfectly. This means that when you look at a condition you do not want and feel discouraged, you are being discouraged by your own past thinking. You are fighting yourself. You are allowing a photograph taken in another season of your life to tell you what the weather is like today. The photograph cannot tell you that. The photograph is finished. It is fixed. It belongs to a moment that no longer exists except as a physical echo, still working its way through the material world. The architect understands this instinctively. When an architect stands on an empty lot, bare ground, perhaps weeds, perhaps the rubble of something torn down, he does not experience despair. He does not look at the emptiness and conclude that emptiness is the nature of that place. He sees the finished building, not as a fantasy he is entertaining to feel better, but as a professional reality he is working from. The building exists in his consciousness with complete specificity, the height of the ceilings, the direction the windows face, the way the light will move through the lobby at 4 in the afternoon. That interior reality is more real to him than the dirt under his feet, because he knows which one of them has the power to change. Most people have this completely reversed. They give all their authority to the dirt. They study the dirt. They photograph the dirt. They show other people the dirt and explain in great detail why the dirt makes everything so difficult. They become experts in the dirt. And the dirt, being a faithful mirror, remains exactly as it is because the consciousness standing in front of it is fully occupied with dirt. You have to make a decision about which world you are going to treat as real, not which world you can see and touch. That question has an obvious answer, and it is the wrong question. The question is which world you are going to give your creative attention to. The world that already exists, which is a record, or the world you are choosing, which is a reality not yet visible but already established in the only place establishment ever happens first. Conditions have a hypnotic power. That is the honest truth of it. They are loud. They are persistent. They show up every morning without being invited. The bill arrives in the physical mailbox. The pain is felt in the physical body. The empty chair at the table is visible to the physical eyes. These things press against you with the full weight of sensory experience. And the mind, which was built to navigate physical reality, takes all of that sensory input as evidence, as proof, as the final word. But the mind was not built to be your master. It was built to be your instrument. And when you allow current conditions to dictate your assumptions about what is real and what is possible, you have handed the instrument control of the player. You have let the paintbrush decide what the painting will be. The result is always the same, more of what already exists, because the instrument has no imagination of its own. It can only recycle what it has already recorded. Your imagination is not a decorative faculty. It is not the place you go to escape reality. It is the place where reality is made. Every condition that exists in the visible world passed through the invisible world of imagination and assumption, first yours or someone else's. Nothing in the human world arrived without being conceived in consciousness first. This is not philosophy. This is the mechanics of how things come to be. When you understand that the outer world is a record, you stop being terrorized by it. You can look at an unwanted condition with something close to neutrality, the way a doctor looks at an old X-ray that no longer reflects the patient's current state. Interesting historically, relevant to understanding how we got here, but not authoritative, not binding, not the truth of what is, only the truth of what was. The record can be replaced, not by fighting what is recorded. Fighting the record only deepens your attention to it. And attention is the very thing that keeps conditions alive. The record is replaced by making a new recording, by occupying a new state so completely, so naturally, so persistently that the old recording fades from lack of attention the way an unplayed song fades from memory. You do not destroy the old. You simply stop playing it. You choose a new state. You live in it as your present reality, and the outer world, being a record and never a verdict, begins to record something new. There is a particular kind of suffering that is entirely self-inflicted, and it is the suffering of unnecessary complexity. It is the suffering of someone who has been handed a key, looked at it carefully, decided it cannot possibly be that simple, and spent the next several years building a lock-picking machine. The door was never the problem. The resistance to simplicity was the problem. And that resistance, if you look at it honestly, is not intellectual. It is emotional. It is the deeply conditioned belief that you have not yet done enough to deserve the thing you want. That belief is the only obstacle. Not the method you haven't found yet. Not the technique you haven't mastered. Not the frequency you haven't reached, or the vibration you haven't sustained, or the morning routine you haven't perfected. The obstacle is the conviction, running quietly beneath all of that searching, that something more is required of you before the law will respond. And so you keep adding steps. You keep building the machine. You keep making the simple complicated, because complexity feels like effort, and effort feels like earning, and earning feels like the only legitimate path to receiving. But the law does not operate on the principle of earning. The law operates on the principle of being. What you are being in your consciousness right now is what the world is currently organizing itself around. Not what you are doing, not what you are planning, not what you are trying, what you are being. And being is the simplest thing in existence. You do not have to construct it. You do not have to perform it. You simply have to choose it and inhabit it. The way you inhabit a room, by walking into it and standing there. The proliferation of methods in this space is itself a symptom of the disease it claims to cure. Every new technique, every new protocol, every new layered system of practices is born from the same root assumption that the law is difficult to access, that it requires special knowledge, that the uninitiated need a guide through the complexity. And so the seeker moves from method to method, collecting tools, accumulating practices, building an elaborate architecture of spiritual effort. And at the center of all that architecture, untouched and unchanged, is the original simple truth they were given at the very beginning and did not trust. Assume it is done. Feel it is real. Persist. That is the complete instruction. Everything else is commentary. Useful commentary, perhaps, for specific minds at specific moments. But commentary. Never the law itself. The reason this simplicity is so hard to accept is that it transfers all responsibility directly to you. A complicated method has the great psychological comfort of external authority. If you follow the steps and it does not work, you can conclude that you missed a step, or that you need more steps, or that this particular method is not the right one, and the right one is still out there waiting to be found. The search continues. The locus of control remains outside you. And while that is deeply frustrating, it is also, in a quietly perverse way, deeply relieving. Because if the method is responsible, you are not. If the technique holds the power, you do not have to reckon with the full weight of your own creative authority. Simplicity removes that escape route entirely. When the instruction is simply to assume it is done, there is nowhere to hide. Either you have assumed it or you have not. Either you are living in the state of the wish fulfilled or you are living in the state of wanting. There is no third option. There is no almost assumed. There is no partial credit for effort. The law reads states, not intentions. And you know, with the honesty you cannot fake your way around exactly which state you are actually in at any given moment. This is why the most intellectually sophisticated people often struggle most with this. The intellect is a machine built for complexity. It is at its best when the problem has many variables, when analysis is required, when layers need to be peeled back, when nuance demands attention. Give the intellect a simple instruction and it becomes restless. It starts generating complexity because complexity is where it feels useful. It introduces qualifications, exceptions, prerequisites, conditions. It turns a single step into a staircase and calls that rigor. But this is not a problem for the intellect to solve. The intellect cannot assume anything. The intellect can only analyze. Assumption happens at a deeper level, at the level of feeling, of conviction, of the state you actually inhabit, when no one is watching and you are not performing your beliefs for anyone. That level is not reached by thinking harder. It is reached by relaxing the thinking, by letting the intellect rest and allowing the deeper faculty to do what it does naturally when it is not being overridden by analysis. Children do this without effort. A child who has been told they are going to the beach tomorrow does not spend the evening analyzing the probability of the trip or constructing a method to ensure arrival. They simply know they are going to the beach. They might fall asleep thinking about the water. They wake up already in the state of someone who is going to the beach. That state influences everything: their mood, their energy, their morning behavior. The inner knowing is total and uncomplicated, and the outer world, in the form of parents and cars and roads, arranges itself around that knowing without the child doing anything, except being certain. You were that child once. You knew how to assume without methodology. You knew how to inhabit a desired reality without first constructing a 12-step system for inhabiting it. That knowing was educated out of you gradually, replaced with the doctrine of effort, the theology of struggle, the belief that the world is a resistant place that yields only to those who push hard enough and long enough and cleverly enough. None of that is true. The world is not resistant. The world is responsive. It responds to states. It responds to assumptions. It responds to the quiet interior certainty of someone who has stopped adding steps and simply decided that the thing is done. The sophistication is not in the complexity of your approach. The sophistication is in your willingness to trust something this simple, to stake your inner life on it, to stop searching for the hidden layer that makes it more complicated and therefore more believable to a mind trained in difficulty. There is no hidden layer. There is no secret technique reserved for the advanced practitioner. There is no prerequisite state you must first achieve before the law will recognize you as eligible. The law is already recognizing you. It has never stopped. It is reading your assumptions right now, in this moment, and building your tomorrow out of whatever it finds there. The only question worth asking is whether what it finds there is what you actually want it to find.